What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com. And tonight I am joined by, of course, Connor. It's been a while since he's been on for a post game, but who better to bring on after a Chiefs loss than Connor? But look, guys, Chiefs lose to the Bills at home 24-20. Ugly freaking game, frustrating game. Offense could never really get anything going. I'm looking over the box scores right now, and something that stands out to me from this game is Patrick Mahomes threw for 338 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Travis Kelce and Juju Smith-Schuster both had over 100 yards receiving. That's a stat you look at, and you assume the team that had those players won the game. Well, they didn't. And the Chiefs only put up 20 points. Why is that? Well, the Chiefs did turn the ball over twice, with Patrick Mahomes throwing 2 interceptions. The first one in the first quarter after Bill's turnover, that one hurt because that one got ripped basically out of the hands of Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And that's, when the Bills turn the ball over, you got to capitalize. And the Chiefs didn't. They failed. And as I told you before we started recording or started going live, there's 4 points in this game I feel like you can point to and say that's where the Chiefs lost. 1, that first interception from Patrick Mahomes in the back of the end zone. That was a killer. 2, the Chiefs had the Bills on 3rd and 13 from their own end zone right before the first half. There was like a minute and 10 seconds left in the first half. The Chiefs defense somehow lets up a touchdown. That can't happen. Your defense cannot allow a touchdown there. A field goal, fine, acceptable. How can you allow a touchdown there? And the rookie Joshua Williams is matched up on Gabe Davis. And that just, Spags putting the worst guys in one-on-one positions is something that has been a common theme this year. And I just don't understand it. Like, sometimes it seems like Spagnuolo as a defensive coordinator knows his players worse than anybody else, which is a bad thing considering he is the coach of the defense, but whatever. And then the 2 other points that I thought the Chiefs lost this game were, of course, the Von Miller or the Harrison Butker missed field goal in the second half, and then the Von Miller sack on 3rd and 6 that had the Chiefs punt, forced the Chiefs to punt. The Bills get the ball back, score a touchdown. Chiefs get the ball back. Mahomes turnover, game over. Before I keep going, I'll stop there and I'll ask you, Connor, your initial thoughts on this game because I'm honestly really curious.
Well, the biggest takeaway that I have is something that I was kind of concerned about coming in, and it's the signing of Von Miller. And every Chiefs fan, the most obnoxious, cocky fan base in the history of football, was clowning Buffalo for the signing of Von Miller because, overpay 6 years. Well, the thing is, it doesn't matter how much you pay him if he puts you over the edge to win the Super Bowl. I know people are going to...
Well, real quick, I'll cut you off. If you're Buffalo, you had to overpay to get him. You had to.
But I was really worried that the addition of Von Miller would supplant, or how do I phrase this, would put Buffalo ahead of Kansas City because Von Miller is a very unique pass rusher, and I know Von Miller very well from my years of watching him in Denver. He gets better as the game goes on. And I think Tony Romo compared him to Mariano Rivera, and that's kind of what the Bills need him to be. He's going to come in and he's going to rush the passer late in games. And if they had that in the divisional round, they probably win. And I think you saw my fears be realized today, where late game, even if he didn't sack Mahomes, which I think he got him twice, even when he didn't sack him, he was cooking Wiley and pressuring him late in the game, late in these crucial moments where last year Mahomes and Allen were doing whatever they wanted. Now Von Miller was wrecking shit, and Mahomes had to throw that bad interception because Von Miller was in his face. So to me, this game just single-handedly justifies the Von Miller signing, because that's what you signed him to do. You signed him to come be that closer, pressure the quarterback late when you're in one of these shootouts, which with a team like Buffalo is going to happen in the playoffs. And that's why you bring him in. So I feel like they might be better than us now, just from the fact that they're able to get to the quarterback and we're not. And it also highlights a concern that I've had where I, yeah, Orlando Brown has sucked, and we can talk about that. But for a long time now, I've been saying Andrew Wiley should not be our starting right tackle. Like, the interior of our line, great. But the right tackle is terrible. Andrew Wiley is not good. And there's a reason Von Miller typically lines up on the left tackle, right? There's a reason that he moved over to the right side because he knew Wiley was an easier matchup. We saw this against the Raiders, too. Max Crosby was college teammates with Andrew Wiley, so he knows him very well, and he lined up over him and was wrecking shit for the first half of the Raiders game. Like, Andrew Wiley is a liability, and we need a better right tackle than him. Like, I miss Mitchell Schwartz so much. Obviously, he's never coming back, but we just need better right tackle play.
It's interesting because I guess I don't know, because the right tackle free agent market this offseason was one that like was begging the Chiefs to, jump into.
Lyle Collins.
I mean, there was Billy Turner, the former Packers right tackle. He would have been a solid signing. Like, there were so many good free agent right tackles, and they were going for very cheap too.
Somebody who's not your converted backup guard who already sucked at guard.
Yeah, I guess they thought like they would address it in the draft, and like the Kennard guy didn't really work out. I'm not really sure. But to your Von Miller point, before I started letting you speak and I said, I'll stop there. What I was going to say is I think this game basically epitomizes the Bills offseason, the Chiefs offseason that they both had, and where these two teams are at. The Chiefs this offseason, they took a slight step back from what they were. They did. They got younger and they have more upside, sure. But the Bills went all in. They signed Von Miller, and he tipped the scale in this game. He was an absolute difference maker. And I think this game went exactly how these two teams' off seasons told you it was going to go. And the Chiefs still hung in there. Sure, they were competitive, and the offense, like, it needs work, but the defense held up okay, all things considered, and they were missing guys. I know, like, I would have liked to think that this game would turn out differently had McDuffie been there and Willie Gay been there, but the defense wasn't really a problem. They held Buffalo to 24 points still. You had the missed field goal. You had 2 Mahomes interceptions at terrible points in the game. This game is on the offense, and it's a lot on Mahomes. But anyway, going back to Von Miller, like, that was a signing that the Bills made because they were chasing the Chiefs and they wanted to take them down, and that's exactly what happened today. Like you said, it confirms the Von Miller signing was the right move. And you look at the Chiefs pass rush, it's still struggling. The Chiefs got dominated in the trenches today. And it's sad because this Chiefs pass rush has been an issue for 3 years, and we've asked them to address it. And then they brought back Frank Clark on a pay cut. They signed Carlos Dunlap, which I liked. And they brought in George Karlaftis, who's a rookie, but it was too little too late. Everyone was saying, oh, the Chiefs shouldn't get in on the defensive end or the pass rush market. These guys are going for too much money. And it's like, but Von Miller, he's one of those defensive ends that went for too much money, quote unquote. Well, he was the difference today. He was worth it.
I would say that had we offered him, I know he said that like Buffalo overpaid the shit out of him because he didn't really want to go to Buffalo, and Dallas tried to get him, but they really undercut him. And I think LA did the same thing. I feel like we could have got him for cheaper than Buffalo did, just because, he wore the Derek Thomas shirt today and he idolized Derek Thomas. So I feel like if the Chiefs really wanted to, they could have gotten Von Miller.
Yeah, obviously it would have been a steep price to pay, but like the Bills are in a position. They're obviously operating under a Super Bowl or bust mentality, which is why they had the offseason they did. And the Chiefs, I think I don't want to say they punted, but they definitely planned for the long term. So, like, the result of this game is not shocking. And honestly, like I think if the Chiefs and Bills played 10 times, both teams probably win about 5 of the games. Like they probably
I'd say
split it.
7-3 Bills.
That's reasonable. That's fair. I can see that happening. But I'm not super disappointed by this loss. I predicted it to be a loss. And Carrington Harrison, my favorite radio host over at 610 Sports, he tweeted something interesting today. And he goes, before the season, every year that everyone loves to pick the Chiefs to go 12-5, 13-4, whatever. Something around there. And then when it actually comes time to pick the losses, Chiefs fans have the Chiefs going undefeated. Like no one wanted to say that we're losing to the Bills today, but like the losses have to come from somewhere. And obviously one of them came from today against the Bills. They played a really good team. They lost. It was still a competitive game. And it's not to say that the Chiefs still can't contend or they can't meet up with the Bills later this postseason and beat them. But obviously Buffalo, they're all in this year. And the moves they made today, I think really, they showed you that the moves that they made were made to beat the Chiefs, and that's exactly what happened. And the Chiefs are relying on a lot of young guys, a lot of rookies, and the Bills took advantage of that. They targeted Joshua Williams, the rookie cornerback. They went at some of the Chiefs' weaker links.
I have a couple things to say about him in a second too.
And then, I mean, like the Chiefs wide receiver core, they traded away Tyreek Hill. They got these other guys like Juju and MVS and Sky Moore. And like Sky Moore hasn't really been a huge factor yet. Juju, I like the signing. And Juju, it sucks that they lost today because it's going to overshadow the great day that he had. Like the game that Juju had today, like I've been waiting on that for him. I love that that's what he was able to do today. We need that from Juju more often. But my point is that, this Chiefs wide receiver core, they don't have a guy that like truly scares you now. Like they did when they have Tyreek Hill. It's a lot of solid guys that I like guys that I'm a fan of, but they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. And you almost feel like having a guy like Tyreek Hill would have maybe tilted the scale back in the Chiefs' favor in a game like today.
I had one of my buddies text me today. He's a Patriots fan, so he doesn't know the Chiefs too well. And he said something like, is Juju terrible and is MVS good? And I said, no on both. Every receiver on this roster is mid. We don't have anybody that's good. We don't have anybody that's bad. We have guys that I like better than others. But at the end of the day, everyone here is mid. Like, nobody's – You're not scared with any of these guys. You're not scared by any of these guys. You're not going to specifically target any of these guys. They're all mid. And I know these dumbass Chiefs fans will sit there and say, oh, well, that makes the offense more dangerous because Mahomes can get it to any of them, and you don't know which one he's going to give it to. Bullshit. He's going to go to Kelsey 9 times out of 10. Kelsey is his first read for good reason. So, yeah, the offense is more one-dimensional than it was with Tyreek. But anyway, I'm getting off track from what I wanted to say. I wanted to talk about the defense. Kind of getting a little off track of what you were saying, but I have some very specific gripes with this defense. Number one, Joshua Williams. I want to say right here, we've had this take several times, but I am a better GM than Brett Veach, because if you go back to when I was evaluating this draft class and all my mock drafts, I took Joshua Williams in a lot of my mock drafts in the 7th round. In the 7th round is when he consistently went in all the mock drafts. And I'm like, oh, yeah, big physical corner. You can take a flyer on him in the 7th. Granted, the corner we got in the 7th was pretty good, and I'm really happy with him. But the point is, we took Joshua Williams in the 4th. And I remember Tariq Woolen was available, and Tariq Woolen has been great for the Seahawks. And if you have Tariq Woolen out there instead of Joshua Williams, we win this game. So just because of a stupid ass reach in the draft when Brett Veach could have just taken Woolen or a corner who doesn't suck, we probably win this game. So my little conspiracy theory is I know Patrick Mahomes did the HBCU all-star ball game thing, and because Joshua Williams went to an HBCU, I imagine somebody in the scouting department's like, yeah, we should probably take one of these HBCU guys, right? And that's how we ended up with his sorry ass. that can probably go along with my Khalil McKenzie conspiracy theory. But really, I don't care. Because
Khalil McKenzie.
There's no reason to have taken Joshua Williams in the 4th round. Just like there was no reason to keep Frank Clark on this roster. Like, everything was lined up to cut his ass, and then we restructured him. And I remember being furious when I saw that on NFL Network. And everyone's like, oh, look at Frank Clark. He wants to stay in Kansas
I think
City.
it was me, you, and Jack were on a call, and we had just signed Justin Reed. I think it was the same night. We just signed Justin Reed, and then like 20 minutes later, Jack's like, they just restructured Frank Clark. And me and you were pissed.
But everyone's like, oh, yeah, Frank Clark's a good player for this price tag. Oh, well, it's pretty much the same cap hit if we were to cut him. I'd rather have him than not have him for the same amount of money.
No.
Fuck that. He sucks.
I
One
never
play
liked that.
describes him perfectly. And that was when he was bitching to the ref when he could have just turned around and sacked Josh Allen. He sucks. He has no effort. Sure, he
gives up on a lot of plays, and he gave up on a play today too.
He gives up on plays all the time. The only thing that he's good at is he's pretty solid at jumping the snap, but that really doesn't matter when you can't finish. Like, I don't care how much you jump the snap. He's not creating pressure. He's not doing anything except testing the tackle's reaction time. Like, he's not getting home. He's not getting pressure. I don't care about
his
what
pass
he's doing.
rush win rate is up this year, but it's still about middle of the pack. See, here's what I didn't like about restructuring Frank Clark.
That he's still on the team?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. What people were saying about it making financial sense was true. Like, it was about the same to keep him, and people would rather have kept them than let him walk for, the same amount of money. I always disagree with that because had they let him go, it would have put pressure on the Chiefs to make another addition to the defensive line, to defensive end, like actually truly address the position. Since they kept Frank Clark, I felt like it gave them this false sense of security that the pass rush would be fine next year. Another year of preying on Frank Clark coming back, and it's just not going to happen. Like, that Frank Clark is dead and gone. And George Karlaftis,
he never existed.
No, right. He's never existed in Kansas City, at the very least. But with George Karlaftis, like, I told, I had my concern with George Karlaftis in the first round, because if you remember, I made that video saying I wouldn't take him in the first round. And the reason was because I felt like he was limited athletically, and he won with power a lot of the time at Purdue. I wasn't sure how that would translate to the NFL, especially since he's undersized. He's been solid, relatively speaking, since he's a rookie, but he still isn't enough. He's not what the Chiefs needed. You know what the Chiefs probably needed to do? Bring back Melvin Ingram. They should have brought back Melvin Ingram. I want to feel a lot better about this pass rush if they still had Melvin Ingram. But instead, we're relying on Frank Clark and George Karlaftis. And once again this year, this pass rush is Chris Jones and a bunch of guys, and that's just not going to cut it. Like, Chris Jones is having a defensive player of the year caliber season right now, but unfortunately, he has no help, and the pass rush is suffering because of it.
Here's what I would have done. So, like, you mentioned George Karlaftis. See, the thing with George is I like him. I liked the pick, and I'm still very optimistic about him. I genuinely have a JJ Watt ceiling. I think he's strong enough to do that. But the thing with George is you cannot expect him to come in year one and be a dominant edge presence and solve your edge problems. We were talking about before the show started that edge, unless you have a generational talent like a Myles Garrett or at the time Chase Young, you're not going to get a lot of production from your rookie edges. I would say that edge and safety, maybe.
You're just not finding an 8-sack guy in year one.
Yeah, edge and safety are probably the two positions where you need to let them sit and develop the most, right? So, yeah, maybe George Karlaftis is going to be him in a few years, maybe even next year. But the point is, he's not going to be him this year. And you had Melvin Ingram right there, who you could have brought back, and you didn't, and he's been great in Miami. I wanted to bring Justin Houston back, and Justin Houston has He got hurt, but he was solid in Baltimore before he got hurt. Jason Pierre-Paul also went to Baltimore, has gotten some pressure there. How I would have addressed edge is, I would have drafted Carla. I would have cut Clark's ass first of all. That would have if you make me GM of the Chiefs right now, first thing I'm doing is I'm cutting Frank Clark. I'm not learning where my parking spot is. I'm not learning my assistants' names. Nothing like that. First order of business, Frank Clark is no longer a member of this team. So once he's gone, the way I would have addressed this offseason is I would have brought in quote-unquote old washed guys, as, Chiefs Twitter loves to call anybody over 30. And the three guys I would have brought in, Dunlap would have been one of them, but I'd have Karlaftis and then 4 more guys in Justin Houston, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Melvin Ingram. Feel like I forgot one of them. No, I already said Carlos Dunlap. So 4 veteran edge rushers who can still get pressure and get to the quarterback. Oh, but they're old and washed and injury prone. I don't give a fuck.
Is that not what Frank Clark is?
Well, he's not old. He's just ass. So,
but he's also constantly missing games. Like last week against the Raiders, he actually had a pretty good first half, and then he had the whole stomach thing again. And it's like,
I'm shocked his tummy didn't ache today.
But you can't rely on the guy.
But my point is, if you have none of those guys are going to be like your every down starting guys, but they can all mentor Karlaftis, which that's probably why Karlaftis isn't having a good rookie season, is because Frank Clark has been teaching him things. So if you have Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram, Carlos Dunlap, and Jason Pierre-Paul just rotating in probably every other down as often as you can rotate them to keep them healthy and keep them fresh, that's going to be way more productive than what we have now. We're sitting there and we're hoping that a rookie and Frank Clark can do things. And they can't. What? Mike Dana is supposed to do things too? I like Dana as a backup, but Dana is not a starting caliber edge. And I would, just look at what Carlos Dunlap has done and just multiply that by 4, and that's what it should be. Great rotational player, gets pressure, has gotten a couple sacks, and he just makes an impact on the play for very little money. And I don't see anything wrong with that. God damn it. I hate, because I know the reaction of Chiefs fans is going to be like, Justin Houston's old as shit. Jason Pierre-Paul is old as shit. But at the same time, they love the Carlos Dunlap signing because they're a bunch of sunshine-pumping dipshits. God, I hate this fan base.
Okay, so...
Oh, I forgot one thing. Hold on. I swear I'm almost done. Malik Herring played a crucial down in this game. Did you notice that?
I don't remember, but
it was one of the third downs in Chiefs territory that the Bills had. Malik Herring was out there. Why? How does that happen? If Malik Herring is out here playing crucial downs, sign Ndamukong Suh. That is unacceptable.
Well, okay. So before I bring up this next point, I will ask you, do you think it's realistic, or would you call the Panthers about anyone on their defensive line? Because that's kind of what I'm thinking. I would look into Brian Burns. It might take a lot, but the Chiefs also have a lot of draft picks, and this pass rush is a problem. And I feel like this Chiefs team can still make a deep playoff run if they just address their needs at the trade deadline. Derek Brown, their interior defensive tackle, especially with the Tershawn Morton injury, I would definitely look into that.
I don't know if they'd move him.
I don't either, but I'd call. I'd at least call. I'd ask them what they want.
I don't know. I feel like there might... Ndamukong Suh, like I just said, is who I'd make the call. I think there's a couple veteran guys that you could kind of get the Dunlap treatment from, with it being just a veteran who still has a little bit left in the tank and can give you some production. I really don't... I don't know. If we traded for Brian Burns, I wouldn't be furious unless we gave him a big contract. But I've never really been a fan of Brian Burns. I think he's a tad overrated. But he's better than what we have.
Well, he can win with speed, which is something that I think we lack at defensive end. I think we just lack speed rushers. We lack speed at edge. Frank Clark is very slow. Karlaftis, he's not super slow, but again, he's a power rusher. And so he's not going to win with speed a lot. He's going to win when he bull rushes you. And he doesn't really have a pass rush arsenal right now. So I'd be happy if they got Brian Burns. It would be exciting at least.
My biggest concern would be if they'd feel obligated to pay him afterwards. Like, I would be like, if we traded like a second round pick for Brian Burns and just let him walk, sure, I'm fine with that. But I'd just be worried about locking up a lot of money into Brian Burns that I feel like it'd overpay him, and then we'd be in this Clark situation all over again.
Well, if he became a long-term answer at defensive end, then I would be happy because obviously it would depend on how much they pay him and how well he would do here. But I'm just desperate to get someone else next to Chris Jones that can rush the damn passer.
The guys that I'd want to pay are like guys that I can like flip on a game and I can consistently see them making an impact. I'm watching the Eagles Cowboys game right now. DeMarcus Lawrence has made a few impacts already, and that's a guy the Chiefs could have had instead of Frank Clark. So I feel like, I don't know, I just don't, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I just don't watch enough Panthers games, or maybe something about that, but I just don't have a great gut feeling about bringing in Brian Burns.
No, that's fair.
And I'm fully willing to admit that I could be wrong, but I don't know, kind of like how Frank Clark was good in Seattle, and I just didn't have a good feeling about him when we traded for him from the moment the trade was announced. The same feeling I have about Brian Burns. So, I don't know, I'm just trusting my gut on this one.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So, another issue I wanted to talk about from this game, because honestly, like, I don't have a ton of analysis on the actual game. Again, like,
do we ever have actual analysis? We just bitch about the same issues that the team doesn't address.
But it's been a while since we've done that, though, and it's been a while.
It's the same issues. You can go back and listen to a podcast, or go back and listen to the last Bill show. We're complaining about the same aspects of the team.
Yeah, and look, I mean, Brett Veach deserves a little bit of flack because, again, pass rush is still an issue. Also, tackles on the offensive line that he supposedly revamped last year. The bookends, the most important spots on the offensive line, are still a major issue. Mahomes got sacked, let me see, 3 times today. And they were all on crucial points, and all of them were drive killers. And he was running around a lot more. Like, he only got sacked 3 times, but the dude was running for his life most of the game. But
Vaughn was the difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, Chiefs on third down were not very good today. They were 4 of 11 on third down. The Bills were only 4 of 11 on third down too, and they were also 1 of 3 on fourth down. But the Chiefs turnovers and not capitalizing on the Bills turnovers and the Harrison Butker missed field goal, like, it all came back to bite. Like, this was such a winnable game for the Chiefs, so it's a frustrating loss. But I'm not super mad about it because they also lost to another great team. And I do think that they're capable of beating the Bills and capable of making a deep playoff run. I'd like to see these two teams play again when they're both fully healthy. But I'm not sure if we'll see that this year.
Okay. If both teams are fully healthy, I get that we'd have McDuffie and Gay and all that. But I think a player that a lot of people forget about on Buffalo is Tre'Davious White.
Well, and also Micah Hyde, who can't play or is out for the year. So that's why I say I truly do mean both teams. Like, I would truly like to see both teams fully healthy.
I think the Bills would still win that because my mind immediately goes to how Trey White played against prime Gronk early on in his career when Trey White was young. The big narrative from that was Trey White was able to go up against Gronk and shut him down. So I think that Trey White on Kelsey is just bad news for the Chiefs because then Juju played well tonight, but do you want to have to rely on Juju or McColl or MVS or whoever the fuck is going to make plays? Do you really want to rely on that? Like, what happens to this offense when Travis Kelsey is taken out of the game? And that, I feel like, is the reality with Trey White playing for the Bills.
Yeah. Before I get distracted again, I got to bring up this point. So it seemed like the Bills were kind of able to run at will on the Chiefs today. They ran for 125 yards to the Chiefs' 68 rushing yards. And I feel like this could be a problem again next week against the 49ers, who we know are very serious about running the football. They're capable of running the football. And they're also going to be running the football a lot more considering Jimmy Garoppolo is back at quarterback now. And that was their identity back when they met them in the Super Bowl in 2019 is the 49ers were known as a fearsome rushing team, good defense. That's kind of what the Bills are, or that's how the Bills played today, rather. The Bills, they don't run the ball super well, but they did today, which is my concern. Maybe some of that changes when Willie Gay is able to come back and maybe Mike Dana comes back. I don't know. I'm not sure, but the Chiefs also got to run the ball better. And I'll just highlight Jeffrey's comments since Jeffrey is here. How the F isn't Pacheco RB1? I'm tired of seeing Clyde Edwards-Helaire on these.
I'm tired of seeing Clyde Edwards-Helaire on my fucking football team.
Well, I'm tired of seeing him specifically on these zone runs where he clearly doesn't have the athleticism or the explosion, and he gets brought down for 2 yards. Like today, he had 9 carries for 33 yards. Pacheco looked a lot better. He had the one run. I think it got called back, and it ended up being called back. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it was like second or third and long for the Chiefs, and then Pacheco just ran like an angry man and got all the yards back on the very next play. And he only gets 2 carries. Why isn't Pacheco getting the ball more? And Jerick McKinnon even looks better. The Chiefs consistently bring in these other running backs that all look better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, yet they keep going back to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they keep trying to make Clyde Edwards-Helaire a thing, and he's just not. He's not. They need to embrace the other backs that they have on roster and let Clyde be the complimentary guy instead of force-feeding him.
The comp that I'm going to make is maybe a controversial one. I don't know for a fact if it is because I was too young at the time, but I remember because my mom and grandma had season tickets for 30 years. They hated Larry Johnson and basically called him a run blocking merchant because of Tony Richardson and thought he was extremely overrated and all his success was due to Tony Richardson being a tremendous fullback. Again, I'm not sure. I can't confirm or deny that, but that's the feeling that I get of Clyde this season. Yes, there's been some production, but anytime he's productive, it's been because of tremendous running or run blocking. He doesn't create for himself at all. And a play that immediately comes to mind is the Raiders game last week. I was there for that, and McKinnon it was 3rd and 18, and McKinnon picked it up when Clyde would have 100% gotten tackled for a gain of 2 or something like that, and I feel I'm not really sold on Pacheco. I know there's a bunch of dipshits who want to crown him the next Kareem Hunt, and I'm not going to do that, but I do feel like he's better than Clyde. So I'm very concerned that the production of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the run blocking merchant, is going to make them say, "Huh!" Just have Brett Veach and Eric Bieniemy pat themselves on the back, saying, "We did it. We're great at our job. We found the best running back possible. Who cares that we could have had Jonathan Taylor or DeAndre Swift? Look at what they did. They got injured this year. We have the better running back. Look at the numbers. Look at this. Look at that. We did our job." When in reality, okay, yeah, sure, Clyde has gotten some yards because of run blocking, but can you imagine what Pacheco, McKinnon, or fucking Rojo would do with the same blocking? Or, heck, we spent that first-round pick on DeAndre Swift or Jonathan Taylor. What are they doing with this run blocking? So I'm really worried that they're going to convince themselves that this system player is good.
Well, and there's those charts that you can find, and they show the yards over expected for every starting running back in the league, or every running back with certain X number of snaps played or X number of carries. And it basically shows how running backs are performing relative to their run blocking. And every time those charts come out, it shows that the Chiefs are one of the best run blocking offensive lines in the league. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire is at about the average for yards, which basically means Clyde is taking what the run blocking is giving him and not doing much more, which is basically what you just said. Pacheco, on the other hand, was much higher on the chart than Clyde was the last time I checked it. And I know people are going to watch this and they're going to be like, why are we still complaining about Clyde, blah, blah, blah. And it's
Because
Look,
this is the showmefootball.com podcast, and it's one of the 3 things we hit every episode.
but the problem is we're in year 3 with Clyde now, and they're still trying to make him a thing and force feed him, and that's where it becomes really frustrating. It'd be one thing if Clyde was still on the roster and he was in more of a reserve role and they just bit the bullet. But that's not what they're doing, and it's actively hurting the team.
It's been like a trend of Andy Reid offenses for a long time to just on first and second down just run into a wall. And I was told that Clyde would be strong enough to produce on those running into a wall plays. He's not. He's short, and he sucked today. And all he who shall not be named could tweet about was his strong neck. I know at least a few people are going to get what I'm referencing.
Eric will know.
Dude, I've been saying this for a long time. I hope Jeff and Eric are both still here to hear me say this. Get those two on here. No, you're not supposed to mention him, Eric. He'll probably name search YouTube and find this.
Yeah,
but
he will.
You need to get both of them on the these post-game shows are fun for me, but you don't invite me on every one of them. Lucas is a dumbass, and I don't remember the other guy's name. I don't like him either. Get Eric and Jeffrey on here. Like, those guys know what they're talking about. Eric made me laugh several times on the TL today. I sent a couple of his tweets to the group chat. Like, get those guys on here. That would make this show so much better. Or like a round table of like you, me, and Eric. And then there's other guys like Jeffrey that you could bring in. Like, that would make this show great. Like, I can sit here and complain about Clyde. You can sit here and complain about Clyde. People have heard that all the time, but with some of Eric's tweets, like, I want to hear him complain about Clyde on this show.
Sure, yeah, and we can all talk about Drink too, because I know we all got our takes on Drink.
Oh, don't bring Jeffrey in on that one. I don't like his opinion on that one, but I like his Chiefs' opinions.
I thought you guys agreed on Drink.
I don't think so. I think he called me a dumbass for my take on him.
I don't know. Well,
I don't know, Jeffrey. If you're still here, are you on Team Connor or Josh?
In regards to Drink,
yeah, we should just have I want to have just like a full episode just dedicated to that, because obviously now is not the oh my god, Eagles. Anyway, now's not the time to have that discussion, but I'd like to have a stream dedicated to that.
If they lose to Vandy, I will get all 4 of us on here.
Just get like that group chat on a conference call.
You know what? Even if they beat Vandy, let's just do it. Let's do it. Me, you, Eric, and Jeffrey.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
All right. Well, anyway, back to this Chiefs-Bills game. I don't know.
Really got off track there, but
yeah,
this is the showmefootball.com podcast. It's what we do.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like, do you have any other thoughts? Because look, Josh Allen came to win this game. The Bills came to play. The Chiefs lost to what, let's just be honest, is the better team right now. Maybe that changes. Maybe there's some injuries, or like the dynamic changes with the Chiefs, or they make some more moves. Maybe they sign OBJ. I don't know. Maybe they trade for Brian Burns. And these two teams meet in the playoffs and we see a different result. But as of right now, I think you have to acknowledge what both these teams' approaches were this offseason, and also acknowledge that the Bills were all in. They won today because they made all-in moves, and those all-in moves they made impacted today's game. And the Chiefs took a slight step back, and they have younger guys. They have rookies. They have inexperience, and they're just not quite there yet. I think that's a perfect summary of today's game.
Yeah, I also want to bring up my qualms with Butker. I've often said that I'd rather have a consistent kicker than a kicker that can kick it from 70 yards. And, this is the 4th consecutive game that we've had kicking issues, despite the 62-yard field goal. He missed the 52 one. And that pissed me off. I would like more consistency than that. And we had the kicking woes because he was day to day for like 3 weeks straight. So my leash on Butker is very, very short. I'd like to replace him if possible, and I'm getting pretty sick of inconsistent kicking. Maybe he'll clean it up as he heals and shut me up, but as of right now, I'm pretty pissed on that front. But like I said, very real chance that changes.
Well,
Also,
it's it. I said that I missed the reliability of Butker after watching Matt Amendola and Matthew Wright these last several weeks. So yeah, it wasn't pleasant to see Butker make a further field goal and then miss the shorter one. Maybe that's because he's still healing and he hasn't kicked in like 4 weeks. Let's just hope that's the case.
God damn, the Eagles are choking. Anyway, God, that's annoying. Like, the Eagles should be winning this pretty easily, but they're talking about, like, the Biden family. I don't care about that. I want to see Jalen Hurts throw some dimes.
Speaking of the Eagles, I would have really liked to, or I would have liked to have seen the Chiefs sign James Bradbury when they had the chance because he's been balling for the Eagles.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I brought up a corner yesterday. How about those Chiefs can suck my dick? But anyway.
Oh God.
I don't know who that is on Twitter, but I can probably figure it out. But yeah, a corner that I brought up bringing in was Terrence Mitchell. I was unaware that he was signed off the Patriots practice squad and is on the Titans now. But just having some veteran corner presence so that you don't have to throw Joshua Williams out there. Imagine if we had Terrence Mitchell on roster instead of DiCaprio Boodle. Like, we could have had Terrence Mitchell out there, and, like, I know people hate Terrence Mitchell, but Terrence Mitchell was good. I don't care what anyone says. If we have Terrence Mitchell out there instead of Joshua Williams and DiCaprio Boodle and just these shitty corners, this game is probably in our favor a lot more.
Oh, that's why I say, or that's why I kind of brought up James Bradbury, is because the Chiefs they had so much youth at corner this year, and their only true like veteran was L'Jarius Sneed, and then on top of it, they now have injury and depth issues going on because they have no Fenton, they have no Fenton I guess is a veteran, but anyway, they had no Fenton, they had no McDuffie, and it would be nice to have a player like James Bradbury on this team, and a veteran leader.
You'll have people saying, "Oh, with what money?" Which, to my response, is the whole Terrence Mitchell thing. Like, you don't need to have a expensive player like James Bradbury. You could have like a cheaper player like Terrence Mitchell come in and give you quality snaps, which is not what we're getting with Joshua Williams and DiCaprio Boodle.
They're just not ready. Like, okay, Joshua Williams.
No, Boodle's never going to be ready.
Well, yeah, Boodle. I don't include him in this, what I'm about to say. But like Joshua Williams, like I feel like he's a player that could be good. Like it's almost kind of like the Karlaftis thing. I feel like he's a player that could be good in like 2 or 3 years. But
I don't.
The Chiefs need him to be good now. Like the Chiefs needed Karlaftis to be good now this year, at least if they have any hopes of winning a Super Bowl. And those guys just aren't there yet. And the Bills were able to exploit areas like that today.
I think another guy who might not be quite there yet, and it pains me to say it, is Leo Chenal. Like, he was on the field today, and he really didn't stick out to me. Nick Bolton was a monster, and anyone who says that Nick Bolton is underperforming can go fuck themselves. But Darius Harris...
Okay. To address that real quick, though, I've seen that a lot, and I feel like there's this Nick Bolton hate train that everyone loves to jump on anytime the first person brings it up. And I saw people say that he's taken a step back this year. He leads the team in tackles, and he's actually looked pretty good. The problem with Nick Bolton, and I know he's not great in coverage, is, again, they're targeting him in coverage these last few games, and it's because he's having to play that role more because Willie Gay is out due to injury. So Nick Bolton is playing out of position a little more often than you would have liked. But since Willie Gay is out, that's just how it has to be right now. They just don't have a ton of linebacker depth.
Hey,
Darius
that guy.
Harris.
Hold on, just a sec. That guy who says that Joshua Williams has played good and Spags can't have him jamming number one receivers. You can kick rocks, buddy. Gabe Davis is not good, nor is he a number one receiver, and he's for whatever reason the Chiefs can't cover him. Anyway, continue, Josh.
No, I was just gonna say like Darius Harris has been a pleasant surprise, but he's not great in coverage either. Basically, the linebackers are in a bad spot right now. But to say Nick Bolton has taken a step back this year, I just don't think is true.
Darius
Josh
Harris is
Williams,
one of those. I was gonna
but no,
address Darius Harris real quick.
but like to address this comment, like Josh Williams, he hasn't played good. Like we can just be
At
honest
all.
about that.
Even in preseason, he didn't look good.
He hasn't
So
played good. As far as Spags though, and the rest of his comment in what you said, like yeah, Gabe Davis isn't a wide receiver one, but he's good enough to where I don't know how you can leave Joshua Williams on an island with him, which is what Spags did. And I will agree with that. Like Spags is a super frustrating defensive coordinator. Like I said at the beginning, Spags seems to know his players worse than most defensive coordinators. Like last week against the Raiders when Rashad Fenton was on an island against Devontae Adams, that's not a matchup that you should ever see.
since you bring up Fenton, I'm going to take the stance, very controversial stance, because he has been asked this year of Fenton truther. And I will say that Fenton should never be an outside corner, especially when you have Jalen Watson and L'Jarius Sneed. But I do like Fenton as a slot corner, and I will stand by. I feel like a hypocrite right now because that's what Kendall Fuller truthers were. But Kendall Fuller was just terrible in every aspect until he got moved to free safety for the Super Bowl run. But I will stand by Fenton as a slot corner.
Yeah, it's because I don't think Fenton is as bad as he's played this year,
I
but
don't either.
He's definitely not an outside corner.
If Fenton is like my fourth or fifth corner, I feel pretty good. You know,
Yeah,
I don't want Fenton as one of my starting three corners, but if Fenton's like that guy coming off the bench in emergency situations, I feel pretty good. So
yeah.
that's how I feel about Fenton. Shit, did I mention? I didn't get to talk about Darius Harris yet, did I? Because oh
No.
no, Darius Harris is like one of those random ass players that that's like a UDFA that the coaching staff just falls in love for no particular reason. Another guy like that is Eric's favorite player, Zane Anderson. It's just like these random ass players that like there's no reason to be optimistic about him, but the coaching staff just loves him for some reason. And Darius Harris is one of the first ones that's like been actually a pleasant surprise. Like I was initially furious when he made or how do I rephrase this? I was initially furious when I saw him on the training camp roster because I thought he was one of those players that the coaching staff just loved for no reason. But he was a pleasant surprise during preseason, and he's continued that play over in the regular season. So good for you, Darius Harris. You're not Elijah Lee, so I like you. And yeah, Darius Harris is not on my shit list.
He's been a pleasant surprise. Like he hasn't been horrible. Again, not great in coverage, but he hits pretty well, and he had a big play for a loss today at a crucial point in the game. So
sometimes he feels like having another Nick Bolton, which is never a bad thing.
Well, it's nice that like, if there's one positive about the Willie Gay injury, it's that they've been able to discover depth that they probably didn't know that they had. Because now we've seen Darius Harris for several weeks, and like he's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with him really.
And I know we're jumping around here, but I just kind of thought of it. You were talking about like Spags' personnel decisions and how he's a frustrating defensive coordinator. And yeah, there were some things that frustrated me today. But overall, I've liked a lot of his personnel moves. Like, look at how much he's improved. At this first preseason game versus the Bears, actually, I think throughout all of preseason, Elijah Lee was a starting linebacker when we had Leo Chenal and Darius Harris behind him. And he was able to bench Leo Chenal and not just stick with his original depth or with his original depth chart. So I know that was something you said a lot. Oh, touchdown Eagles. Yes, sir. But you said a lot that you thought Elijah Lee was going to end up being a starting linebacker on this team, and I'm very
Yeah.
proud of Spags that he's not. And I think a lot of Spags' personnel decisions, yeah, there have been a couple that I disagree with here and there, mainly having 55 touch the field at all. But for the most part, I think he's done a pretty good job with personnel decisions, at least not to the I think he's at least been better than what a lot of Chiefs fans on Twitter have been accusing him of being, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's actually a very fair assessment. Like he if I still have like one major complaint about him, well, obviously the personnel is one, but also
Having 55 touch the field.
well, it's the fact that he has like this specific threshold that he always looks for on the defensive line, and it worked for him in New York, but it hasn't worked in Kansas City. And I wish instead of playing the guys that he thought best fit his mold, he would just play the best pass rushers because I thought, especially early in the season, Carlos Dunlap was outperforming Frank Clark by a country mile, but Frank Clark was still getting a majority of the snaps. And
I think
I
it's
just,
become more 50-50 now.
yeah, I'll have to look, especially after this game. But I always felt like Carlos Dunlap in his limited snaps was making a lot more plays than Frank Clark.
And didn't he tip a pass today too? Like he looked
Dunlap, he did. Yeah,
he contributed today. And it's kind of frustrating because there were a couple free agents that I wanted to bring in that fit the Spags scheme and had major success in Spags scheme in Jason Pierre-Paul and Landon Collins. Jason Pierre-Paul is now on the Ravens and Landon Collins is back on the Giants, but both those guys had a lot of success under Spags. So I always thought that maybe not rely on them to be top contributors, but I thought bringing them in the building couldn't hurt at all. And I think we did have interest in Jason Pierre-Paul before he signed with the Ravens. I think it was like
yeah.
us, the Giants, and the Ravens were the contenders for him. But yeah. Also, highlight Eric's most recent comment here for a sec.
This one right here.
Yes. We should point out the fact that Clyde Edwards-Helaire killed Kobe Johnson. Say his name. It was Kobe Johnson, right?
Yeah,
I got his name wrong for a while there, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't getting it wrong. But yeah, rest in power, Kobe Johnson. Me and Eric won't let your memory fade. But anyway.
God.
Yeah, I'm serious. Do you remember that account that was like Clyde Murder Alaire, and all he did was just remind people that Clyde killed a guy?
Yeah, I remember.
I don't know what happened to him, but I love that account. But yeah, we haven't talked about Ronald Jones, and Eric brought him up, and I just wanted, like we were talking about the running backs earlier, and I want to see Ronald Jones play. I really do. I'm really concerned that around the deadline we're going to cut Ronald Jones to sign someone else, and I don't want that to happen. I want to see Ronald Jones get on the field. And he had no run blocking for the first 2 preseason games at all, and people are like, "Oh, he sucks. He's going to get cut." But then for the third preseason game, when he played with the ones and actually had run blocking, he looked better. He looked better than Mid Edwards-Helaire ever has. So please, like if there should be a running back that's a healthy scratch, it should be Clyde, because Clyde isn't good at anything. Jarek is your third down running back to a T. Like, he's the prototypical third down running back, decent receiver. He has put in extra effort to convert third downs. That's who you want as your third down back. I think Ronald Jones is a very good power back. If he breaks free, he's gone. Has probably the best breakaway speed of any running back on the team. And
Pacheco is probably the fastest, but Rojo definitely has a bit more explosion. Yeah.
Yeah. Pacheco's the faster player. Rojo's the more explosive one. I like the way you put that. And then Pacheco, I haven't seen enough of Pacheco to really evaluate him, but what I have seen, I like, So why are we still giving 25 the ball?
The first round pick, man, it's always going to stick. And
have to justify, like, do you think there's a team that would trade for him after seeing this quote unquote production? Because, like, that's best course of action.
I think it'd be lucky to get a 6th round pick back for him.
That's fine. It's the what's the phrase? Addition by subtraction. I think when he got hurt, I said the same thing. Like, we are now a better football team that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is hurt because he's not going to screw us over by forcing him the ball. And I feel like there's a couple players like that. As much as you love MVS, I think that Justin Watson could very easily be the best receiver on this team. Like, when he's been on the field, he's looked great. He looked great in preseason, and he torched J.C. Jackson when he was on the field. So I want to see more of him. Like, there's just a couple, like, come to think of it, my issues with the personnel decisions are more with the offense than anything.
Actually, okay, so now that you kind of bring up the receivers, also, I've noticed based on a lot of advanced statistics that the Chiefs are struggling to beat man coverage, their receivers this year. And to me, that screams they need to be playing more of Sky Moore, especially with Sky Moore's ability to get a good release at the line of scrimmage. It's frustrating how it seems like all these other rookie receivers for these other teams are like doing real things this year. And we're still pretending about this trope that it takes 3 years for a wide receiver to learn the Andy Reid offense. It's like, no, you drafted this guy in the 2nd round. You passed on George Pickens to get him. I want to see more of Sky Moore.
Wait, Josh, so you're saying you want to see more success in less than 3 years. It doesn't take 3 years to be successful?
Are we going back to drink?
No, we're talking about receivers, Josh. I don't know who said anything about drink. I'm just asking you to clarify. You are expecting success in less than 3 years, correct?
Different, depending on the situation, yeah.
But I just want you on record of saying we need success. We need to see success or something in less than 3 years.
But no, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm tired of the trope that it takes a wide receiver 3 years to learn the Reid offense.
Okay. That's going to come in handy next week.
What?
That's going to come in handy next week.
Yeah, we'll
clip that, chat.
But it's not the same thing.
Oh, we'll get to that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I don't think we'll need to talk about that next week. We better not, or else I might be on your side after that.
Ooh, Cooper Rush just threw a pick.
But
fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on this game?
At this point, it's just going to devolve into our usual talking points that our audience has heard a million times. So.
Yeah, no, but it's been a while, so I'm glad.
Oh, DXA. I mentioned Jeffrey and Eric. You need to get DXA on here too. Forget your stupid usual guest list outside of me. I'm the only good one. And Jeffrey, Eric, and DXA. Those 3 would make really interesting shows that I would actually listen to because I don't listen to your show outside of anything I'm on.
That would be crazy. I have no idea how that would go, and I'm honestly scared to try it.
Risk it. Risk it for the views. It would be a lot more entertaining than what you do currently.
All right. Well, because I guess I'm a part of the Chiefs Homer echo chamber, right?
Yes, you are. Your guests are a bunch of dipshit Chiefs homers, and I'd like to see you bring in people with actual opinions, like Siakam Robbed, the most infamous account on Chiefs Twitter, which I'm really kind of disappointed that he took that moniker from me.
Well, we should try to get Arrowhead Live on a show.
Get Arrowhead Live on one of these shows, or ask him, hey, do you want to collab? And then bring me in without telling him.
And Eric. I'll bring Eric on and DXA.
Dude, could you imagine he gets on thinking it's just going to be a cordial thing between you and him, and then you bring me, Eric, and DXA on, just his 3 most hated people?
That would be insane.
I feel like I'm the boogeyman to him because there was some account that he was accusing of being me the other day, and it's I love it.
Well, anyway, given the fact that we're talking about a fantasy live stream with me, you, and Arrowhead Live. I think that pretty much wraps up
Hold
this
up.
show.
Ask the audience if they want to see it. Chat, would you want to see that?
Well, you can comment it after the stream is wrapped up. Anyway, if you like this video or this stream, you can like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. You can check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, where I need to be getting back to work because honestly, it's been a while since I've done anything for either of them. But
Quit the military fraud.
all that being said, Connor, where can the people find you? Or do you have any parting words, I guess, if you don't want them to find you?
My Twitter is @BradyReeks. My YouTube is Prime Connor. My Instagram is also Prime Connor. I've been, college has been kicking my ass, but I've been wanting to create more YouTube videos, so go follow me there, I guess. Other than that, yeah, you know where to find me.
Well, there you have it, folks. So, one more time, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this, and we will see you all in the next one.
Fuck Arrowhead Live.